And this is what really it is, like taking a skills assessment of everybody around you. Like, oh, I worked as a doctor, as an intern for like one summer in Doctors Without Borders. Oh, you're coming with us. What was 20 years ago? I don't care, man. Needles and thread and gauze have been the same for 200 years. You're coming with us. It's always about skill assessment of anybody that's out there.
Hello, and welcome back to Raised by Giants, where we talk all things spirituality. I am Ryder Lee. Tonight, we have returning guest David DuByne. David DuByne is the creator of Adapt 2030 channel on YouTube. He discusses energetic changes on Earth as the sun repeats its 400-year cycle of low activity, affecting global crop production, the economy, and everyone on our planet with a timeline, what you can expect from now to 2030 as society resets. Hello, and welcome back to the show, David. Thanks so much for coming back on, my friend. How are you doing?
Doing as well as we can do in this chaos phase of the world that we're seeing.
You were speaking about this before we jumped on, that you believe that it might be like an outside source that's kind of doing this, and maybe an inhuman source, but I really think that it's just corrupt humans. I believe on a fundamental level that it is corrupt humans. Now, whether those humans have been corrupted from a outside source is highly plausible, but I think that this is a human problem. It's a human issue, and we've let these people have control over our lives, and no one has done anything about it, and it's just continuously perpetuated itself over and over and over and over again, right? And then this is where we really find ourselves. We find ourselves in this predicament because we set back and we kind of let it happen. And I really honestly believe, and that's not something that people want to hear, right? They don't want to hear that we have let this happen, but I honestly believe that it is, a lot of it has been our fault. We've let it get to this point, and now whatever happens, is happening according to the plan. And that's a very difficult and a hard pill to swallow. And it's gotten our subconscious mind wired on a level, right, to where we can't see any way out of the predicament that we found ourselves in, when really we can, right? If you're constantly buying into somebody else's reality, then you're going to be living that reality, right? So when you look at all these events as a collective traumatization to get away with a certain narrative that under normal circumstances wouldn't be gotten away with, then you start to see through the veil. Sorry, I kind of rambled on there a little bit.
No, and I could continue and dovetail on that for visible signs of aging only get worse as we age because of the decrease in our naturally produced collagen levels. Every decade, our skin suffers from a 10% decrease in available collagen supply, which is why you have to start supplementing collagen if you want to keep your youthful glow. Collagen rejuvenates and renews your skin from the inside out with 5 supercharged types of collagen your body needs for youthful looking skin. By boosting collagen levels with multi-collagen, you'll help restore your skin's elasticity and thickness while reducing the appearance of wrinkles. Try it risk-free for 60 days. And take 51% off your order by going to healthwithadapt2030.com or clicking on that link in the description box below. After your order, it's going to be sent straight to your door along with a couple extra bonuses. It is time sensitive, so order now. And let's get on with the video. Even if whatever religious affiliation you might be, if you go into the Arabic writings or you go into Christian writings, or they talk about the further we swing away from being in touch with divinity and living in harmony with light, the more they even call it the jinn, is what the Arabic traditions talk about, that it swings in and you give it an inch and it takes a mile. And there's this battle back and forth in history that's been talked about time immemorial, where The populace steps away from being in harmony with the creator itself. And because of that, that darker power is able to overtake into some sort of dimensionality or mind of the persons inhabiting the planet. And it doesn't matter what continent you're on or which religious belief you were or what, because before these religions, go back pre-Buddhism, it was still paganism, speaking of October and worshiping the earth and getting back into these divine energies. But at some point, there was a few breaks in that too. Go back into the Sumerians and Babylonians, like they stepped away from living in harmony. And, you hear some of these stories about, well, I can't really say it on the programs here, but that same force, whatever it is, there's many names through history. So many cultures have names for that dark force that's able to step in when we go away from any sort of balance. And again, and then it'll swing, the pendulum will swing over to everybody, you'll see it. And then suddenly everybody reverts back over to, all right, we need to get in harmony again. And then it is. And then whoosh, that darkness literally can't hold state anymore. There's nowhere for it to be because we're back in harmony again. Looking back from, say, Babylonian or Sumerian traditions forward, especially when you get into the Hittite era, say 5,000 years prior, they were worshiping the magic mushroom as their source of divinity and inspiration and touching with the rocks and getting down, Petra in that desert area, bringing it to bloom to life, living in harmony with that. And then suddenly what the Assyrians are in there and everybody's conquering everybody else. Like, what's going on with this flow of light and dark in between these ancient ages of history? And what about prehistory as well? We got the Homo sapiens sapien, which we are now. And then me and Ryder before the show, we're talking, excuse me, a little bit about like the creation of a new human. But if we got the Homo sapiens sapien now, is the timeline really correct on where we got defined as a Homo sapiens sapien from a Neanderthal and then from the Denisovans? And then what was pre-Denisovan, because there's that last 10,000 years of warmth in the Ice Age, between ice ages, say 110,000, 118,000 years ago. And you can go back to these different epochs in history of this warmth period between ice ages. But then we kind of just stopped counting sort of like new prototype humans from the Denisovans. Then we got the Neanderthal, and now we got us. So really, like, how far is this going back, and how much has these control mechanism been in play? 1,000,000 years, 400,000 years, only the last 10,000? I mean, really, where does it sit? And do we even know the true prehistory or the history of our own human race? Yeah, you can go as deep as you want on it, but I'm just focused right here, right now, getting on my garden. So I'm not going to be reliant on a centralized delivery system, collecting my own water, getting filters and separation tanks ready for that water, and being able to move into more of a self-sufficient existence while things break down around. So then you look at these statistics and you read more about Somalia, because Craig Simpson over at Radiant Creators was over in Somalia as well. And he was telling me all about the breakdowns and all about how these gangs form, that all these things of just like there's protection in numbers. And the reason I said that is going back in prehistory, we only survived in villages. That's the only possible way. There was like no lone wolf running around out there. This whole thing of like solo trekking and, we have these, glorified ideas. I'm going to solo trek through the Himalaya, man. You would have gotten eaten, killed, or kidnapped back in the day. So nobody did that. You traveled in pairs. You traveled in tens. Villages always had 200 people. You locked everything up at night, tight as a drum, because there were things that went bump in the night out there. And I mean, I don't care where we're going in history, but we're right back at a repeating cycle of it. And I think a lot of things that allowed humanity to survive, we're going to have to relearn those again and bring them into fast forward. I need to, Ryder, I need 2 quarters so I can get into a time machine and bring myself right up to now. And I can also visit the past to learn what I need to learn to survive right now. So can I borrow some change?
Yeah.
The time machine requires quarters.
We got to build the time machine first. And you get some of that Tesla technology to build that bad boy. But it's interesting you're talking about these cycles, right? I have this theory that nothing is meant to be permanent here, because you're talking about these. If you look back through all the different ages of humanity and these different time periods, I don't know about you, but I believe that we were 100% highly advanced civilization multiple times throughout our history, right? And why aren't we advanced now? I think that it has something to do with the cycles and the time, because I believe that it works as a duality and a polarity, just like the duality and the polarity works on an individual level here. It also works on the grand scheme of things here. So in each one of these ages, we flip back and forth. It's like an up and down roller coaster. Sometimes we get the knowledge is freely given and it's not suppressed like it's been in this age, and we get to be highly advanced civilization. We get to live as free as possible that we can possibly live here. And then once that age is through, that whole thing collapses, and then we get a dark age. And I think that that's really what's going on. We're supposed to flip back to this, what I've termed a God age. Right? The God age is supposed to be next, but they're doing their damnedest to try and hijack that age and run right over it and push right through it so that they can take their darkness on through the next stage. What do you think?
Well, again, you come back to higher powers that are so much more powerful, and like in orders of magnitude, you can't even think of a number that's high enough that the creator of this would, even if you just want to stay in the third dimensional realms of stars and galaxies, and something that is that intelligent to have a base layer of consciousness holding it all together that vibrates in light, to have that blueprint for the actual dimension that we exist in, to hold it in time, space, and expand and allow the creation of how many umpteen countless different beings and those with conscience, sentient thought across all these galaxies, hundreds of trillions of galaxies. The numbers themselves don't even make sense. And then you got hundreds of billions of stars in these guys. There's a base layer that holds that all together. Now, the architect of that, and I think a lot of it has to do with where we sit in the spiral arm of our galaxy, and then energies that we transit through. Like they're always there and they're always in place, whether it be a denser plasma with faster heating, or whether it be sort of, I hate to say empty space because there is no such thing, but an area where the plasma density is less, where there's slower vibrating energies. And sometimes you come into dense spaces where there's actual physical debris there along with the plasmas. But the energy signatures through those areas of space have been mapped out in what they call astrology. The astronomy part of it was to explain where we were in the heavens moving around through, which, like the Aquarius or Leo or whatnot. But the energy involved in that Birkeland current flow, that flow of energy that we actually transit through, is almost like passing through a copper wire that's more highly electrified or lower on the current flow. And those are all explained in terms of Western astrology, but then you got the Vedic astrologies, and then you can go over to, the Yuga cycles, which you're referencing. I think a little bit of that enhanced waves coming through that are just a normal ebb and flow of our planet, our star system, otherwise known as our solar system. I mean, that's just insane talk to even think. This is where it comes back into some biblical references. And even if you believe in sinking continents such as Atlantis, something similar, though. They got too incredibly arrogant for their technologies, which was their demise. And I believe that this will be another one of those. They may think that they could control these energies, but they cannot. That the creator is so much more powerful. It's unfathomable or unfathomable how you could even put a context on something like that, to even compare it to just a bunch of people up working at a tech company that have some woo-woo technology. I mean, literally, the base layer of vibration to hold all dimensional space together, that creation, and you think somehow you're going to put a tower up and that's going to stop that flow of not only information, but consciousness in itself. Like, that's insanity. That is truly the definition of insanity there. So perhaps we do get into these cycles of insanity where the rulers think that their tech is going to be something almighty, when really, I mean, in the scheme of things, it's truly nothing.
We're on the woo-woo topic right now. So I think it's because I don't think that they would do it for absolutely no reason. And a lot of times you have to invert things and look at things backwards and from the other side of like what, kind of what they're saying or what the general consensus of something actually is. So if you look at it as like cutting us off from a source or somehow preventing us from leaving, then it kind of makes a little more sense there. I don't know. Yes. Really quick before I go, let you go. I know we're running over here a little bit, but I've enjoyed talking to you a lot. Is there a few things that you kind of already spoke about it in the beginning of the show and what you're doing to prepare? Is there any quick advice that you could give to help people to try and get through this period of time that's coming, because it's coming no matter what. I 100% believe these events just don't happen for no reason. You know, it's a planned collapse. They're getting ready to collapse it now. When that happens, full fledged, not 100% sure, but it is coming before 2030. I 100% believe. So, is there any tips that you could give anybody to help them get through this period of time and survive? Because I think that that's going to be the most important thing that we can do is survive.
Understanding what's about to happen and what is in flow right now, to mentally adjust to it first before you can assess even where you sit. And then having these difficult conversations with family members, because even 2 months ago or 5, 6 months ago, to have the same conversation with like an entrenched family member that's just bought the Kool-Aid and drank that whole bottle, things are so out of kilter now that they're willing to have the conversations because nothing is as it seems. And the world has spun so far off base that even the most staunch believers in things were okay have now really started to say, whoa, you know, things just don't look right anymore. So the willingness to have the conversation, and then to get at least close family members, neighbors, groups of people on the same page to even understand where you're going to need to take action. See, that's the biggest thing. Like, I could sit here all day and grow a garden and just twiddle my thumbs. Like, I don't care whatever people think. I'm going to filter my own water and I'm going to get my eggs from my chickens. And hey, forget. That's really not going to work in the real world. You're going to have people all around you all the time for so many chores and all these things. And you can only do so much. You can only produce so much. And everybody's got a skill. And I would absolutely like do cross interviews with people to see what kind of skills they have. Because I was watching a video, super interesting story. Woman comes up and, you know, after she heard a speaker was like, I don't know how to do anything. I was like, I got no skills to offer anybody. And guy was super cool and was like, just sit down with me for a second. I know you got skills. You're in your 60s. Of course you got skills. And she's like, what'd you do? Well, I was a mother, you know, and oh, you ran a kitchen. Perfect. You're going to be in charge of all of our canning. You're going to be the one who's going to get all the jars clean. You're going to, yeah, and you're going to teach, you're going to be the teacher for everybody else in the community here on how to can. And just like instantly assigned a role of like skills of having what every mother had of raising children, of having to prepare foods, clean up, get recipes together and this sort of thing. And it was an instantly from like a completely hopeless moment to, wow, I really got a skill that everybody will be super, super stoked to have. And this is what really it is, like taking a skills assessment of everybody around you. Like, oh, I worked as a doctor, as an intern for like one summer in Doctors Without Borders. Oh, you're coming with us. What was 20 years ago? I don't care, man. Needles and thread and gauze have been the same for 200 years. You're coming with us. You know, it's always about skill assessment of anybody that's out there. Because, you know, talk about the gardening and the filter of water. Oh, okay, everybody's got to do that. But now what skills can you bring in as more of a cohesive unit? And like emergency preparedness in terms of what does happen if somebody gets hurt medically, because we've had some injuries on the farm out here and you burn through your huge amount of your med stuff real fast, especially burns. All I can say is burn kit. You definitely don't have enough stuff. You never will. And you need to practice what happens when somebody gets burned. A, they're taken out of the equation for days, if not weeks. B, that infection is going to come screaming into the hands or feet or body. If you don't have that under control, especially in sort of a grid down where hygiene's going to be iffy at best. Like, what are you going to sacrifice to keep that? You know, you got to pre-advance practice some of these things. And going through some burn sessions and seeing burns myself, oh my gosh, what happens if you break your foot, your arm, your leg? What if you slice off your thumb? What happens to all these things? And like, these are real farm injuries. You do more real farm work, you're going to get hurt way, way more. Like, I just had a hand side because I was clearing. I sliced into my foot. I had to go get stitches. Now, what if there was no doctor? And okay, we got a stitch kit. but could I have cleaned it well enough? Would it have gotten infected? I mean, there's all these types of things that, easy for us to run down to an emergency clinic, pay your $80 and get your stitches and get out of there, $100, whatever it is. But to actually do it on your own, I mean, do we have enough Novocaine? Nope, probably not. Do we got enough whiskey? Yeah. And you're some like 1800s biting the belts, or, I mean, all kind of weird things to think about. We need to do a skills assessment first, and then really go through the spreadsheet and try to get what things you have under your belt already, and then what preps you're going to need, and really do like a super deep assessment. Anything doesn't work or half works, half correct, just throw it away and get a brand new one. So, looking through the longevity of this, you're going to have to go 10, 15 years with completely broken down supply chains. So do I want like a solar charger that only charges 50% when I could buy a new one for $30 or something? No, I'm throwing that old one away, just getting rid of it completely. And I'm getting a brand new one, or two or three, and really, start taking a good deep cataloging of what you have around the place, what might you need, and then start going out to get that, not today, yesterday, because it's already too late tomorrow. I mean, that's kind of an off thing. Most people will say, yeah, grow food, get seeds, everything. But, I'm thinking, well, I need skills is what I need. I need people out here to live with me. I need people living out on the land. I need people to share the skills. And then so we can cross-pollinate ideas is what I need.
Well, if you need anyone to come and teach a meditation class and breathwork class on spirituality, I'll be there, brother.
Well, we got some yurts out in the back forest if you're willing to live with the Sasquatch part of the year.
Oh, I thought you said yurts. I thought you said yaks. That's why I said a yak farm, because there's a
yurts
yak farm,
and yaks, man. They go hand in hand. Are you kidding
me? Yurts and yaks all day, baby.
It's too warm for yaks down here, unfortunately. I can get you a water buffalo. That's about as close as I can get.
Perfect. I'll take a water buffalo. David, thanks so much for coming on my show. Let